Hello, everybody. My name is Jay. I'm one of the expert Ielts teachers here at E2 Language. I took the Ielts again recently, and while I'm not going to reveal my other scores because I'm going to challenge them again, I can reveal to you that I got 9 again in speaking. And I got 9 in speaking because I used the PPF method, which worked beautifully on test day. I can really tell you that in terms of when you do part 2, when you have the 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to speak, the PPF method was excellent. It was excellent in that 1 minute preparation time because that is a crazy little 1 minute and it goes so quickly. You really don't have time to write anything down apart from PPF, which I'll show you in a second. And then the speaking itself, while using this method, allowed me to speak for 2 minutes and to not go round and round in circles, to make sure I hit the task. And I told 3 very interesting stories in the past, in the present, and one in the future. So it worked well, and I just got my results and I got a 9. So that's good. So let's have a look at IELTS speaking part 2, and we're going to do some practice of the PPF method. So just to refresh your memory, on test day, the examiner will give you a task card. That task card will be about, who knows what it will be about. It could be anything: shopping, communication. What was mine about? Mine was about an advertisement that I had seen. So I had to talk about advertising, right? It can get pretty complex. So they give you the task card. You have 1 minute to prepare, and then you have to speak for 2 minutes on that task card there. Now, I've seen some other YouTube videos that tell you, well, you can see that some teachers, most teachers, if not all teachers, have never taken the IELTS before because the advice they give you can be completely misguided. There's a very popular IELTS teacher on YouTube whose method for the 1 minute preparation is to take notes and write down your story. It's so different on test day. That 1 minute feels like 1 second. Boom, it just disappears. And your anxiety is usually a lot higher, so you're thinking a lot less clearly. You need a very, very simple preparation technique because I can tell you on test day, it's a different story. It's a different feeling. All right. So you might get a task card like this, and we're going to practice on this one. It says, talk about a piece of art you like. You should say what the work of art is, when you first saw it, what you know about it, and explain why you like it. Now, I don't know about you, but yeah, I like art, but I'm certainly, I better do that again. That sort of made a funny word there. Art, there you go. I don't know about you. Art, how am I going to talk about art for 2 minutes? What art? Whoa, crazy stuff. Let me show you a technique. All right, so I want you to tell 3 stories, not just one, because if we tell one, we're going to go round and round in circles. So we're going to tell a past, present, and future story like this. So we're going to look at this task card and we're going to write down one idea about a past story, one idea about something that's happened more currently in the present, what you're currently doing right now. Maybe you saw some art recently, for example, and some art you would like to see in the future. But it says a piece of art. Talk about a piece of art. Talk about one piece of art. Well, as I said, I've used this method now and I got a 9. It works. I'll also tell you this, which is interesting. I spoke to an IELTS examiner. You can pause the video if you like and read this. I spoke to an IELTS examiner who confirmed that you can speak off topic slightly. It's not a problem. In fact, you're not even graded on speaking on topic. It is not a part of the grading system in IELTS speaking to speak on topic. In writing, you must write on topic. In speaking, you can go off topic. It's not a problem. Let me show you how you're graded here. Whoops. So you're graded, just very quickly, you're graded on fluency and coherence. So that's how smoothly you speak, how well you structure your story or stories. Lexical resource means vocabulary. Grammatical range and accuracy means grammar, and pronunciation is pronunciation. There's nothing in here about topic. And this is what the IELTS used to grade you, and I did it and I got 9, so it works. Let me tell you that. But I don't have 3 stories about art. Well, this is where the 1 minute preparation time is important, because you need to make up the 3 stories based loosely on past experiences. Let me give you an example. So when I look at this, what my mind says is, talk about a piece of art you like. Okay, that's fine. Now, it doesn't need to be a painting, or it doesn't need to be, you know, the Mona Lisa or something like that. It can be something different. For me, I remember a picture book when I was a child that had these beautiful pictures of it was like a mythology picture book, mythology, and it had all these amazing pictures in it. So I'm going to tell a story about that. So what the work of art is, well, it was a picture book from my childhood. When you first saw it, well, when I was a child, what you know about it, well, it was about mythology. It was about Norwegian mythology or Norse mythology with like Loki and Thor, stuff like this. It was pretty cool. Explain why you like it. Well, when I was a child, it was very captivating, blah, blah, blah. Lucky I've got 3 stories, because if I just told this story, I'd finish in about 30 seconds. But using this method, I can just spend 30 seconds here or 40 seconds. That's fine, because then I move to the present. At the moment, well, I'm sort of interested in fashion at the moment. And in fact, on Sunday, I'm thinking about going to see a fashion show, which, by the way, fashion can be considered art. So what the work of art is, well, I'm going to see a fashion show. When you first saw it, well, I'm going to see it this weekend, actually. What you know about it, blah, 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 and explain why you like it, blah, blah, blah. So I can spend about 40 seconds here. So let's say I spend 40 seconds here, and I spend about 40 seconds here. And if I spend 40 seconds here, well, that brings me up to the 2 minutes, doesn't it? So that's cool. And I've told 3 interesting stories. So in the future, I would like to go and see the Mona Lisa. I believe that the Mona Lisa is housed in Italy, if I'm not mistaken. That would certainly be an interesting country to visit. I'd like to see that art because blah, 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 blah. Anyway, this is what 1 minute feels like. It just, on test day, 58, 57, and your mind is kind of, I don't know, because it's a bit of a scary situation, it's very hard to think. And you can't come up with a perfect story for each of these. So you have to sort of bend the rules a little bit. You have to make that task card work for you. That's why I came up with these 3 stories, one about a picture book, one about fashion, and one about Mona Lisa, because I don't have 3 exact stories about art. In fact, I'm not an artist. I haven't studied art, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, now I want you to do it, okay? So I'm going to give you 1 minute to prepare. I want you to think of 3 separate stories based on this task card. Your time starts now. Okay, now you can begin your stories, or your that's what the examiner says to you. Now, how did that 1 minute feel? You probably noticed that there's really very little time. You certainly can't take extensive notes. You can really, it's enough time to sort of think, write down 3 things, take a deep breath, because now you're about to tell your stories for 2 minutes. So let's do that. Whoa, before we do, we need an introductory sentence, in fact. So this is what I said on test day. I said, I looked at the examiner and I said about the advertising. Remember, mine was about advertising. And I said, okay, so I would like to tell you 3 stories about advertising. First, when I was a child, blah, 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 blah. That's how I started. So you might want to say, so I would like to tell you about 3 pieces of art that I like. Let's do it. You have 2 minutes to tell your 3 stories about art, starting now. Okay, I'm just reading some of the comments on YouTube Live here. Very interesting. How did you go? Did that make it easier telling the 3 stories? Did you have 3 stories? I mean, maybe your 3 stories weren't perfectly related to art. Maybe like me, I spoke about a book that I saw when I was a child that had beautiful pictures. It's still art. Fashion, still art. And in the future, I'd like to see a painting by whoever painted the Mona Lisa, Michelangelo, Leonardo. I can't really. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to have completely relevant stories. It just needs to be loosely based on that task card. Telling 3 stories makes it way easier. Let's do another practice because this is what you need to do on test day. So look at this task card here. Describe a piece of advice you recently received. You should say when you received the advice, who gave you the advice, what the advice was, and explain how you felt about the advice. Now, I can tell you again, on test day when you're nervous and the examiner gives you that card and you have 1 minute to prepare, your brain's probably going to stop. And you're not going to be able to just write down the story like some teachers tell you to do, because that's not what happens psychologically. Psychologically, you'll probably be able to think, okay, past story, some advice. Okay, yes, I remember my friend told me this. Recently, recent advice. Oh, yep. And then future advice. What would I like somebody to tell me? Maybe, okay, yeah, write that down, right? That's about it. And then you sort of take a deep breath and the minute is over and you have to start speaking. But that's cool because you've got those 3 stories in front of you and that's fine. Let me show you what my advice, my 3 pieces of advice are. So in the past, a friend told me not to be a flake, which I thought was a really interesting piece of advice. To basically, if I'm going to pursue something, then pursue it deeply and properly. Don't just do something superficially. So I'm going to talk about that relating to this task card. That will take me about 40 seconds. Now, present. Recently, I've been receiving lots of advice on Facebook about how to improve e2language.com. It's great advice, blah, blah, blah. Might spend about 40 seconds on that one. And then the future. In the future, what sort of advice would I like to receive? Okay, maybe advice about how to raise children in case that ever happens, because I have no idea how to do that. So I can relate that to the task card. Now, of course, it says describe a piece of advice you recently received in the past, but again, that does not matter. You can manipulate this to tell 3 stories. So let's do this. I want you to prepare. You have 1 minute, start now. Okay, you can now begin talking about advice for 2 minutes. Cool. Again, I just saw another question on YouTube live saying, how can we talk about the future when it talks about the past? Again, please watch the beginning of this video. Not only have I confirmed this with IELTS examiners, but I've done this twice now and got 9s both times, and I use this method. So it does work. There is no, you do not get graded on speaking on topic. This task card is there just to guide you. Of course, you can't just memorize something completely different and talk about that, because you will lose marks for vocabulary. But you can tell the 3 stories. It's really not a problem, okay? It's up to you. If you want to just tell one story, go round and round in circles, fine. If you want to get a high score, I highly recommend this method. All right, well done. I hope that helps. Let's do one more, okay? One more. So this time, Describe a trip that you went on that didn't go as planned. Whoa, that's tough. You should say where you were going, how you were traveling, the people you were with, what happened, and explain what you would do differently. All right. Now I've got 1 minute to prepare. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about, in the past, I took a road trip with my friends. Now, it didn't go as planned. It did go as planned, but I'm just going to make up a story that we got lost, okay? Because I don't have to tell the truth here, I'm telling stories. And that's very different to telling the truth. Okay, recently, a trip that didn't go as planned. Okay, so I was going to my brother's house. I was traveling on my scooter. I was by myself, and I got pulled over by the police and I got a fine. So in the future, I would not go as fast as I was going. Okay, cool. I've got a great present story. The future, a work trip. Okay, next week I'm going on a work trip. I'm going to travel on the airplane. I'm going to be by myself. Hopefully nothing will go wrong because I'm going to plan it very carefully. And again, I'm just going to plan it well, okay? So I'm going to manipulate this task card to fit my needs to tell 3 excellent stories. Cool, your turn to prepare for this particular task card starts now. Okay, whoopsie, you can begin speaking now. Cool. How was that? Did it help? Did you speak for 2 minutes, tell 3 stories? I should just tell you something else here is you may not get to your future story. You may not make it to the future story, but past and present is fine. When I did mine, I told 1 sentence about a future story, about future advertising. I said something like, in the future, I would like to see more advertising done digitally, something like that. And then the examiner said, okay, you can stop because 2 minutes was up. But at least I got one sentence in future or graded on and grammar, not topic. Now I'm just looking at the chat here, and I see that Damesh, when preparing for this, wrote down 3 things, okay, about the trip that didn't go as planned. Damesh wrote down Goa, Saputara, and Mount Abu. So 3 places. That's it. And that's really all you get time to do in this preparation time, that 1 minute. You'll write down 3 things. That's it. And then, because it will take you like 30 seconds to wrap your head around what's going on, you write down the 3 things, the 3 places. You take a deep breath, you look up, the examiner says, okay, you can start. And you say, okay, I would like to tell you about 3 travels or 3 journeys that I went on that didn't go as planned. Firstly, I would like to tell you about Goa, where I went 3 years ago, blah, 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 okay? Cool, cool. So why IELTS 9? Why IELTS 9? Or at least that's what we want to head towards. Even if you don't make it that far, that's fine. What are the 4 things that you're graded on? Fluency, structure, how well you structure your story, vocabulary, the words you use, grammar, the rules you use, pronunciation, how clearly you speak. Nothing about topic here, and structure refers to coherence in terms of, firstly, I would like to talk about this, blah, blah, blah. Then this happened. Lastly, this happened. So that's what coherence or structure means there. Cool. Guys, if you need help with your IELTS in any way, please check out e2language.com. We'll certainly help you out. One thing that we're doing very soon, starting not next week, the week after, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just check the website. We're going to run intensive writing and reading online courses. The idea is this. You'll sign up to E2 Language's budget package, which is the cheapest one, the least expensive one. You'll get full access to the course, but you will also get a downloadable PDF booklet, right? Because in the exam, you need to use a pen and paper, and it's very different to typing. So you need to get familiar with writing, and writing and reading are the hardest. What's going to happen is there's going to be live classes every night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to run 5 academic writing task 1 classes, 1 every night. We're going to run 5 writing task 2 classes for the advantages, disadvantages, problem solution, opinion, discussion, etc. All the 5 essay prompts. And we'll do general writing as well, the 3 letters. Plus we'll do reading. We're going to look at all the reading question types. All you need to do is bring your PDF, sit down at the computer, turn on your computer. I'll teach the classes. I'll teach you how to write the essays. I'll teach you how to do the reading. You sit there with your PDF and do it. This is going to be a cool way to learn and a very fast and effective way to learn. So if you're interested in that, do sign up as a free user so you'll be notified when we're doing these live classes, okay? Hope that sounds good. Right, now I might just spend a few minutes answering some questions. If you have any questions, please put them into the chat. Here's a good one. What should I do when we give a surprise question for part 2? For example, a dangerous situation when you have been helped by someone. Great question. All right. There is a very good chance on test day that the examiner will give you a task card and you just simply won't have any stories for it. For example, talk about a dangerous situation when somebody helped you out. I don't know. I don't have any stories like that. Not that I can think of. However, I can think of a story when I helped somebody out. So I'm going to change it like that. And I'll just tell the examiner, I'll say, I'm going to tell you 3 stories about not when I was in danger, but when I helped somebody else in danger. That's fine. Remember, topic is loosely based on the topic is no problem.
And once I saw a car crash and I helped these two people out of the car. It was scary, blah, 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 and I can begin talking. And the other thing is, you can just make up these stories, okay? It may not have happened to you, it may have happened to your brother or your friend. You can take that story, make it your own. Remember, you're not there to tell the truth, you're there to tell stories. You're there to use your language. Cool, good question. Any other questions? Any other questions? Let me check in the webinar here. Oh, what time are the live classes? That's a good question. They're going to be in the evenings, Melbourne, Sydney time. So in India, around 2 p.m., the Middle East, around 10 a.m. But just check the website to find out. Which date do the live classes run? We're going to start on the sign up as a free user. I'll let you know. They're going to be good. Okay, yeah, well, here's the question of the day. My problem is that I just don't have any ideas when I want to talk. What should I do? You need to practice. It sounds like a simple thing to sit there and just tell a story for 2 minutes. It's not. It requires you to practice this and requires you to practice a range of different topics as well. So, yeah. Cool. All right, guys, I might leave it there. Thanks very much for coming. Hope that was helpful. Good luck on your test day. I hope you nail it and get a high score and never have to do it again. That's the plan. See you soon.